Hi, all. This evening, I'd like to share something that the Lord dropped into my heart immediately after one of our church services a couple of weeks back. Not related to what was spoken that day, but what I'm going to share is a new revelation that the Lord gave me as I sat on this new chair that we have installed in our room and I took my Bible to read. Yes, immediately after our service and a different passage. I will encourage you all to go and read Romans chapter 4 after this. Don't have to do it now, but I would encourage you to go and read this and see if there's a rhema, an active word for you. But I will take you through a few verses in the Old Testament and the New Testament and explain what was revealed to me. Genesis chapter 17, verse 2. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. This is a promise from God to Abraham. Verse 6, I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and your descendants after you. Verses 20 and 21 of the same chapter, Genesis chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. And then we go to Romans chapter 4. Verse 13, for the promise that he would be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. Verse 16 to 18, therefore it is of faith that it might be according to grace, so that the promise might be sure to all the seed, not only to those who are of the law, but also to those who are of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I have made you a father of many nations in the presence of him whom he believed, God, who gives life to the dead and calls those things which do not exist as though they did, who contrary to hope in hope believed, so that he might become the father of many nations, according to what was spoken, so shall your descendants be. Lastly, let me just read one more verse. Verse 23, now it was not written for his sake alone that it was imputed to him. I hope you're all still here with me. The Lord reminded me that the covenant that the Lord established with Abraham was not just about the nation of Israel. When he showed him the stars and the sand, he was not referring, let's say, merely to the political nations that will come out of him. Yes, by physical procreation, Abraham is the father of all the Arabs. He is the father of the Edomites via Esau and the Jews via Jacob. But the Lord was telling Abraham that the covenant was about the descendants through faith in Jesus, who would come in the lineage through Isaac. You see, Abraham may not have understood it fully and might have thought it was about the numbers, which are huge if you were to consider these nations. However, the covenant that would come through his wife was through Isaac. And so even when giving life to the dead and calling those things which do not exist, yes, there is the physical element of the deadness of the bodies of Abraham and Sarah, but it is also referring to his faith in something that has not yet happened, life into the dead body of Jesus Christ, resurrection power that will come into the dead body of Jesus Christ, and faith in him. The covenant to Abraham was beyond political nations or races. It was also talking about all the descendants of Abraham as they put faith in Jesus, who was in his lineage and raised from the dead. The descendants that he could not count included you and me through faith in Jesus. The motto of my the motto or the vision of my home church is to impact nations. When we talk about impacting nations, we might limit in our thoughts, obviously not seeing the entire picture. Nothing wrong with it. But when we see technology advancements and we perhaps are ministering to people in other nations via Zoom, or people logging into YouTube to our services, we see the promises come to pass. The Lord reminded me that God's plan and promises for us are more and further than what we have imagined for ourselves. But He is revealing glimpses through His Holy Spirit, and that's why I am sharing this today. What we see today is just a part of what He has seen for us. The promises are not limited to our generation. Some of these will manifest in greater measure in the generation of our children and our grandchildren. Who knows which of our children will be missionaries in other countries? Who knows that the Iranian person who you shared the gospel to in your outreach program, or perhaps at work, will not then go and share the gospel in his hometown? That Afghani child in your care at school whose parents' whereabouts is unknown in the country going through turmoil, that's your soil to impact nations. Who knows how the songs that are written and hidden in some journals today will be sung and published years down the line via a medium we can't imagine today. All these are examples of things currently in progress that I know of, and not hypothetical. These are actually things that are happening as I know it today in my life and the life of my friends. Let us ask the Lord to reveal those plans in detail, but also surrender our hearts to be faithful in the current day. We might not see the complete picture. We cannot see the extent to which the Lord has seen the full picture, but we can do it one day at a time. Live in the present, faithful to what He has called you for. Don't create the full picture early and get disappointed if it turns out slightly different or vastly different than what you had imagined. He will accomplish what He has promised. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 9 says that His ways are higher than our ways and His thoughts higher than ours. May the Lord bless you all with these words. Have a blessed week ahead.